Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hari Bol.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Jai Ho.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Needed to be carried out on journeys.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare,
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Hare
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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Jai Jai.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama
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 Rama,
Hare
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 Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare
Hare Hare,
Radha Shri Hari Radha Shri Hari Radhe Radhe,
Jaya Radha Sharad Bihari Radha Sharad Bihari Radhe.
Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Shri Subhadra.
Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Shri Subhadra.
Jaya Gauranita, Jaya
Jai Ho.
Gauranita, Patita Pavana Gauranita.
Jaya Gauranitaya, Jaya Gauranitaya, Patita Pavana Gauranitaya.
Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Nittai Gaur.
Nitai
Nittai Gaur.
Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Nittai
Gaura
Gaur.
Haribo.
Haribo. Haribo. Nittai Gaur. Haribo.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Bol, devotees. Thank you all for joining for this afternoon session. We're happy to see devotees online on our regular Sunday lecture Zoom class. I have to remember to use the word Zoom now because that's what we have been doing for the past 2 months. So that's an adjustment for me. So we are very happy to see so many devotees online, and we hope that more will join. Like in the past few Sundays, we've been very fortunate. And we are also more fortunate today that we have amongst us a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Rtadhvaija Swami. A little brief biodata or information about Maharaj. My husband and I had the mercy of being in Maharaj's association many, many years ago. When Vrinda was still a little kid. In fact, she was just a baby, 9-month-old baby in Alachua, Florida. And at that time, Maharaj was actually running and managing and handling a Gurukul boys' school, all boys. So you can imagine, I think boys are more difficult than girls. I don't know, Maharaj, probably you can attest to that.
I don't remember being a girl. That was last life. So
But it was definitely a service that Maharaj was so much, committed to. And right now he is based in Dallas, and Maharaj is very much involved in the Sangha initiative with the youth, and he's also commonly known as the youth guru because a lot of youth are so attracted to Maharaj because he's so down to earth and he's so real, and the youth just love him and they get so attracted to him. And we're so fortunate and so blessed that we can have you with us. In fact, Maharaj had a plan of visiting East Coast, but thanks to COVID-19, we are getting to meet Maharaj online. So we are very grateful, Maharaj, that you are here, and I'm sure that the devotees would be so much enthusiastic and commit, and will be excited to hear from you, Maharaj. So it's all yours. You can take it over. Thank you, Maharaj.
it was, I could see everybody before, but now I just see the poster. What happened? Oh, there it is.
Oops. I think you have to do it in the view
No,
gallery.
I got it.
Okay.
Somebody
No,
comes
it should be good now. Yeah.
like this. Then I can just see, I can see all the names, not all the pictures. I think sometimes it stops the internet or slows the internet down on too many videos. I've heard in the past, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So the way Anasuya who set this up with me was that it's easier for me to do question and answers rather than sit here and talk to a computer screen.
Maharaj, we do have questions. If you can just let us know, would you like us to read one question at a time? And also, devotees, please do feel free. If you are not able to submit your question ahead of time, you can always add it in the Zoom chat. Maharaj,
Yeah.
you tell us how you would like us to do it.
Well,
We have it.
No. Yes, I did. I did meet Anasuya and Prikshit and Sri Vrinda Devi Dasi. I didn't know I hadn't seen her in, what was it, 20 plus years. And
22 years ago, Maharaj.
that big one. And then all of a sudden she's like all grown up. Yeah, super big. So I was quite pleased to see the family again after a long separation. And yes, I'm in Dallas, and I was here for Rtadhvaija. I came a month before. They say that just me being here solves all the problems. I can't quite figure out how that works. And so, but the Rtadhvaija didn't happen because all of a sudden the COVID lockdown happened. And I'm real strict with the COVID thing, pretty much, except for wiping my nose with my dhoti and then washing my dhoti. But yeah, I'm turning 68 this year, and I've had lifelong lung problems, pneumonia many times, and Pinkerton in the cold rain and stuff like that. And when I was a child, I had chronic bronchitis, and I was on those old style antibiotics all winter long, so I had to be a little careful to be in contact with people. So I'm self-quarantined. I'm still on self-quarantine. I'm going to stay that way until I don't know.
One more year, March, hopefully.
I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. You know, there's a nice verse in the 12th chapter of the Gita that describes, first Krishna gives the breakdown, you know, that we have to just think of him. And if you can't do that, practice of bhakti yoga, and it goes on down. And then what happens that Krishna describes those who are dear to him. And one of the qualities of one who's dear to him is one who is not attached to the ordinary course of activities. So we have been definitely had to be detached from our ordinary course of activities within a few days of the lockdown. And a lot of my friends, my sannyasi friends and just regular friends, I guess sannyasis aren't any different than regular, but they are appreciating, especially being able to do the chances of me coming to Harrisburg are greater on Zoom than it is in my car or an airplane. And definitely much easier on my physical body, that's for sure. That's for sure. And you know, we've been doing some programs. Today we had a wonderful program with the GBC strategic planning team with Gopi Gita. She's a vice principal of the TKG Academy here. Because I've been involved in youth projects for over 30 years, almost 30 years now. And what it takes to raise a teenager as if somebody knows. I mean, after I worked with youth for about, probably 10 years, I finally read a book on teenagers, and the first page it said, if anybody writes and tells you what a teenager is all about, close the book because nobody knows.
Perfect, Maharaj, perfect.
A unique species, unique.
Very unique.
But I remember that, I remember that challenging time in my life, and it was it was and is still very, very rewarding, because life is confusing, but that is even more confusing. I think His Holiness Ramapada Maharaj said, I'll do anything I can to get out of the material world so I don't have to be a teenager again.
Hare Krishna. Oh boy. I think we have few teenagers out there, so
it's okay. I love teen. I could have taught any level of in the school, and I chose teenagers because that's the funnest. It's literally the funnest because their brains are coming alive, their questions are coming alive, they're hiding from themselves, they're hiding from everybody. It's just so much fun. It's like being a secret agent.
I love that. That's why, Mars, the kids love you, the youth love you, and we have, I think, about 7 or 8 youth online right now. And
yeah, I see some of the kids I know there.
Yes.
I see some of the kids there.
Yes,
kids. You're not even kids, you're young men and young ladies, no.
Yeah.
Kids is like 8 and under. No, 10 and under is kids. Youth is like 11 to 12, 13, and young adults.
Yes, Marge.
Yeah, so if you can just maybe present some of the questions that you see are pertinent.
Sure.
there's no bad question. The only, I guess there's a saying, the only question that's a bad question or inappropriate is the one that's not asked or something like, in other words, if you don't ask the question, then that's
Yes,
not,
I've
that's
heard that.
That's not good, you know.
So I know that Vrinda has the questions because they were all sent to
You
her.
don't have to say,
Vrinda, can
you
you
don't
start?
you don't have to say names of who it is because some people like privacy.
Oops,
That's why
thank you,
I always
Marge.
that's why I always tell people, don't just CC 40 people, blind copy 40
Buying
people.
coffee,
I don't want
yes.
everybody to know my address. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
I'm wanted in like 50 states. I don't want anybody to know where I'm at.
And the good thing is, Marge, when the questions was sent in, they were all anonymous with no names on it. So
There you go. Nice.
we are safe with that. So
Yeah.
I just have, Vrinda, can you start with the first question?
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. We took some all bases as our court of Shira Prabhupada. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So as we have 15 questions here, but we're gonna start with one. First question is, how can we balance between devotional services and chanting 16 rounds?
Devotional. Well, if you're in that position, you're very lucky. I mean, most people have to go to work or go to school or, you know, take care of a bunch of kids or, and so if you have to do, you know, if you have so much temple service that you have to schedule your rounds, that's an opulence that very few people have in this world. But, you know, if your devotional service, I actually consider going to work devotional service, you know, at the factory or the company or whatever, if you're IT or AT or whatever, what is no AI, what is it, AI or whatever it is. I mean, I also consider that devotional service. I don't think anything is different than devotional service. It's just, I mean, it's just different types of devotional service. And so what I have like a little morning WhatsApp japa message that I've been sending out for about a year. And I always tell devotees, prioritize their life. There's two places in the Gita where Prabhupada mentions that one should mold their life in such a way that they always remember Krishna. Two different purports. I got these new tabs for my Bhagavad Gita so I could mark where they are, but you can't write on them. So I got to get new tabs and replace them. So, but there's two places in the Gita where Prabhupada said we should mold our life in such a way that we can always remember Krishna. And it's just a matter of prioritizing. In other words, what is the priority in your life? I'll give an example. Just like yesterday, I was sitting in my room and I was chanting my rounds, and one of the, I mean, he's 27. Is he in ISKCON youth? He was Giridhari Maharaj's secretary for years, and now he's going to go to university here. And so he brought in this big glass, 5-gallon jug of water to put in my cooler. And somehow or other, the cooler slipped and the jug slipped, and all of a sudden we had a 5-gallon jug of water on the floor and a million pieces of glass all over my room. So at that point, the priority was make my room safe, put my bead bag down in such a way that I don't step on any glass, get all the equipment that I need to get, and get the water off the floor before it sinks underneath the wooden floor that's on a concrete surface so that it doesn't swell up and ruin the whole floor. So we went into priority mode. In other words, our priority changed at that time. And so we can see, so in other words, it wasn't that I didn't have time to do that. It's just, in other words, priority, in other words, there's enough time, my feeling is there's enough time to do everything that a devotee needs to do in their life, and we just prioritize it. I know that Satsvarup Maharaj writes in his Japa Reform notebook that, you know, the best time, and it's in the Prabhupada's, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the best time to chant is in the early morning hours. But if you can't do that, then regulate your life in such a way that you have specific times. And my recollection is Prabhupada chanted 4 rounds in the morning, 4 rounds before breakfast, 4 rounds before, or 4 rounds for lunch, 4 rounds before dinner, and then 4 rounds in the evening or whatever it was before or after. And so he scheduled his rounds that way when he was working as a grihastha. That's how he scheduled his life. And so just take a look at your day. When you wake up in the morning, We take in a few deep breaths. Thank Krishna, you're still breathing. We find the things that you're grateful for. One of them, that you're breathing. Two of them, your eyes are still working. You know, three, your ears are still working. And we can go up a whole long list of things that we're grateful for. I'm grateful for Guru Parampara, grateful for Panchatattva, grateful for Radha. Over here it's Radha Kalachandji, and then begin the day. And then after you have whatever your schedule is, just mark it down. I'm going to be able to chant at this time, and then that's all you do at that time. Turn off the phone, turn off the computer, turn off whatever it is, device, whatever devices that are invading our lives. I like the word invading, and just stick to it. And so I dropped out of college to become a Hare Krishna, so I'm now a TED educated fellow. And so there was one TED that was describing that there's plenty of time. It's just a matter of how you prioritize it. And if we place japa as on the top priority, japa on the top priority, or at least on the top section. I mean, some things their family members have family duties, children, babies, things like that you can't just say, okay, you can't, your diaper's all dirty. I got to finish my 16 rounds. That's against Vaishnava's rules. And so that's the bottle of water dropping on my floor. And so then you just schedule it, and then you just do those things at that time. So it's just a matter of prioritizing. And I got this thing on my computer. It says, slow down. I always have that. I don't know if you can read it. I can't see if you can read it. It says, slow down. In other words, don't talk so fast and don't talk so loud. But there's two things: mental speculation, which is forbidden, and philosophical speculation, which is authorized. So philosophically speculating, if Krishna's time, because he says it in the Gita 2 places, in the 10th chapter, he describes himself as time, because as the destroying agent, and in the 11th chapter, he describes himself, time I am, I come to destroy the world. So 2 places in the Gita, he describes himself as time. In the 3rd canto, he describes that's how the whole material energy, whole material universe is activated by Krishna, enters into the universe as in time, and it activates the 3 modes of material nature, and everything becomes active by that time factor. So my philosophical speculation is if we prioritize our time for japa and devotional practices, then Krishna can make other things that would normally take longer, take less time, that will allow us to have that time to do our japa. In other words, like say, for example, a work project or a homework project was, if you weren't chanting japa, it would take 2 hours, but because you are chanting japa, it only takes an hour and a half. Or if you're supposed to drive to work and it takes 45 minutes to drive to work, but because you're taking time out for Krishna like gives you a free lane and you can drive to work in 30 minutes. This is total speculation, but I'm just saying that if Krishna is time, then Krishna can manipulate time. Krishna is the controller of time. He is time, and so he's sitting in our heart, and he knows that we want to chant japa, and if we really desire to chant japa, then Krishna can. He can reset the clock. He's authorized to do that. So I hope that helps, Shrivanda Devidasi, your mother said.
We just call her Vrinda Maharaj. It's so much easier. She was named with a complex compound name, but we just call her Vrinda. It's so much easier.
What about me? Nobody can spell my name. It's like, I got initiated. I had my name on a piece of paper, and I kept it there for like 3-4 weeks just because it was so. What is? How do you say it? There's like 14 different ways to say my name. I mean, the R can become a vowel. It can become a consonant. Rtadhvaija, Rtadhvaija. So next question, Linda. That's enough for that last one.
Yeah. Next question, Maharaj, is how to not complicate spiritual life.
Yeah, how to not complicate spiritual life. Real intelligence means taking something very complicated and making it simple. That's true intelligence. You take something very complicated, just like spiritual life is super complicated. I mean, if you want to, if you study all the different things, how this whole place is working, how the sun is coming up on time, how the planets are moving in certain ways, how the wind is this and how this is that. I mean, everything. I actually just read the day that, you know, you always wonder how God is, you know, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, how that whole thing is working. And I was reading in the Bhagavatam today in the first canto, and it was saying that because the Super Soul is present in every living entity, the Supreme Lord knows that nothing can move without the Super Soul's sanction. Because the Super Soul is the observer and the permitter. In other words, he's the overseer and he's the permitter of everything. And so through the venue of the Super Soul, not a blade of grass moves without the knowledge of God. So please repeat the question, because can you repeat the question, Linda?
Yes, Maharaj, is how to not complicate spiritual life.
Yeah. And so what we do is we tend to complicate spiritual life. In other words, we want to make a mountain out of a molehill, they say. And so the idea is keep it simple. And there's one place in the Gita where how does Prabhupada say it? The Krishna bhakti or Krishna consciousness is very mystical, but very simple. Is very simply can be executed. And so I remember one lecture. I wasn't there, but I saw the lecture in Australia, and somebody asked Prabhupada. You know, it was like really trying to have a hard time trying to understand how the universes came out, and Garbhodakshi entered in, and then Kshirodakshi's over there, and you know, whatever that Sweta Dweep or whatever that portion of the material, and, you know, and he was trying to, you know, figure out, you know, all these different things. And Prabhupada said, don't try to make it so complicated. We don't have to worry about all those details, all the different details. And so so the sign of intelligence is to make a complicated thing very simple. And so we simplify our lives, and not that we become simpletons. We actually simplify our lives. And then we keep it to the basic teachings of Srila Prabhupada. We recommend, if you read Srila Prabhupada's books, the complex things will become very clear. When I think of complex things, you know, for me it's a little interesting to understand the universe, but I'm not a scientist. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. A little interest here and there, but what complicates us is that when we get what we call paralysis by analysis. In other words, thinking about so many things in the material world, so many what ifs, what if, and then you get yourself in that rabbit hole, and then you can actually get yourself in this loop of negative chatter in the brain, which just simply circles. You know, it's like, I saw something the other day that somebody was talking about the mind, and it was like, okay, now I'm just going to go to sleep. And as soon as you go to sleep, the mind will say, what time are you going to get up? What are you going to do when you get up? Are you ready? And then it tells you about every single bad thing that happened last month. And it tells you about all the things that you may think are going to happen in the next thing. And your mind is going like this and this and this and this. And so the simple thing is just to understand that we're not the mind, we're not the body, and that we have a purpose. And then we actually have an understanding of spiritual life, and we can simplify our life. Actually, Srila Prabhupada actually said that in the Gita, one place he says that, why take the complicated route when you can just take the simple path of Krishna consciousness? And then he explains how some people think that Bhakti Yoga is the simple way. And then he explains that if Bhakti Yoga is the simple way, then why isn't everybody doing it? Why are they taking the hard road? Why don't you just take the simple way if it's so simple? Because he says Bhakti Yoga isn't that simple. It's very, very complex and very, very detailed. And so we can make our lives very, very simple simply by chanting Hare Krishna, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and honoring only Krishna Prasad. You know, that's a simple process. That's a simple process. And then add spiritual knowledge as we go. The spiritual knowledge will develop over a period of time. Is that okay? I mean, it's like, I've done it so many times. Assume something. I've assumed something. There's one thing, assume is A-S-S-U, me. That's how you spell assume, A-S-S-U, me. So if you assume something, you make an ass out of yourself and an ass out of somebody else. And so the idea is that we can complicate things. We can make so many assumptions. We can make, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's all I can say. And just let spiritual life be a joy. The spirit, it's a sukham kartam aviyam. It's meant to be joyfully performed. It's not meant to be, not a burden. Actually, I was telling the devotees, because on that morning japa thing that I do, I say it's a privilege to chant Hare Krishna. It's not a burden to chant Hare Krishna. It's a privilege. It's an opulence that's been given to us by the Lord. It's the Lord's grace that we can approach Him through the holy name. And if we make it complicated and make, how am I going to finish? No, just make it simple. If somebody gave you the most opulent thing in the world, you wouldn't make it a complicated thing. You'd make it a very simple thing. So otherwise, I got to slow down, otherwise I won't have a chance to answer. You can ask me one question, I can go for the whole hour. Don't ask Hare Krishnas why they put tilak on, it'll take you a day.
Thank you, Maharaj. So the next question is, what are your thoughts on gender stereotypes and their role in Krishna consciousness?
Gender stereotypes?
Yes.
I mean, what is a stereotype? I mean, you got those L, B, G, Q, A, B, C. I don't know all the letters anymore because they keep adding to them. I was asked that by a very close friend the other day, a very, very nice young man. He's in college, and he was asking me about transgenderism. I didn't know it was an ism. Transgender. And so all these different things, like, in other words, I was born, I guess, as a heterosexual. So it has its difficulties. I mean, there's problems with that. It's karma. It's my karma. My karma was born to be like, whenever an attractive girl goes by, I should be like one of those horses with blinders on, because otherwise I'll want to look. And the idea is that whatever gender orientation your body has is your karma. Is your karma from your previous activities. So a transgender person is a person who was born with, say, a boy's body, but feels like a girl. Now talk about having some karma. It's just karma. It's just a karmic reaction from your previous sins or previous actions that you performed, that you're stuck in the body, that you want to be a girl, but you can't be a girl because you're in a boy's body. And then you're discriminated against. It's just like African American people or indigenous people or so many different kinds of races. They're discriminated against according to their bodily features or bodily attributes or something like that. So in the same way, homosexuals are discriminated against. They used to beat them up, 50 years ago. If somebody was gay, you got beat up. Now the people are becoming a little more liberal. I mean, African Americans were beat. You just because they were born in a particular type of body, that's their. It's not right that they're being beat up, but they have a certain karma that comes with their body. So if you're transgender or you're gay or you're, I don't know all the different ones, lesbian or LBGQ, I don't know what the Q stands for, but all those things, they're simply karmic reactions. And for some reason, we made some type of an offense to someone that created us to be offended in the same way in this lifetime. Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. As you sow, so you're going to reap. And so we're reaping a particular result. We must have sown some kind of like, what would you say, abuse towards someone or some kind of thing in our last lifetime. And now we just have to deal with it. As a devotee, I don't discriminate. If someone is transgender, I just say that I'm sorry that you have this discrimination against you. Please chant Hare Krishna. Please read Bhagavatam. Please become a pure devotee in this lifetime. If you're gay, I don't care. You just please chant Hare Krishna. Do devotional service. Try your hardest to avoid sinful life. And move on, and just try to move on as best you can. Some people will say that it's to be gay is sinful. okay, to be a heterosexual is also sinful. It's maybe a little less sinful. I mean, maybe a little less sinful reaction, maybe a moderate reaction for me, but it's not like it's a cakewalk just because you're a heterosexual and you got to go around, and especially in Kali Yuga, where girls don't know how to dress. I mean, I guess they do according to modern standards, but I can be a victim too. I can be a victim. It's easy to be a victim, but I choose to be an advocate. I choose to be an advocate and just say, if you don't want to be exploited, don't try to be exploited. And if you have some difficulties with your gender identification, you just own it. And if somebody's got a problem with it, that's their problem. And do devotional service. Purify yourself. There's nothing. There's no sin that one can commit in this lifetime that chanting Hare Krishna once can't purify. I just read that in some Japa book recently. I know it was a Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyway, whatever. I read so many books. But the idea is we can't commit enough sins in this lifetime that chanting Hare Krishna can't overcome. Now, we're not meant to commit sins in the strength of chanting Hare Krishna. That's the seventh offense. But at the same time, we can overcome every obstacle. Machata Savadorgani Mat Prashada Trishasi 58th chapter, 18th chapter. If you become conscious of me, you can cross over all the obstacles of life by my grace. Grace is different than mercy. Grace is just given freely. Mercy means I have some control over you and I give you the mercy, but grace is given freely. And so for transgender people or for whatever Brenda said, I feel compassion for them. I feel compassion for heterosexuals. I mean, it's not easy. To give up sex desire in this lifetime. You want a funny story? One time I was with Shiva Ram Maharaj. Does anybody know Shiva Ram Maharaj? He was my first temple president. The first class I heard in the Hare Krishna movement were men who were like hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. The class went on for 2 hours. By the end of the class, I knew I was a hog, and I knew I was a dog, and I knew I was an ass, and I knew I was a camel. And so one time either he stubbed his toe when we were doing Vrindavan Prikram, or somebody else stubbed their toe. And they asked Maharaj, he said, Maharaj, I heard if you stub your toe or bang your toe, that it reduces sex life. Maharaj said, if it was that easy, I'd take a hammer and smash all my toes right now. So to get over these material desires, these attractions for these sinful things, as Srila Prabhupada said, the natural tendency for human society is to be attached to meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. That's the nature of the human. We have to go against the nature of go against human nature and get into our spiritual nature. And so if I'm going to discriminate, just like the Gita, I just read that verse today in the Gita, that one who sees a dog, an elephant, a Brahmin, a cow, the equal vision. So if I discriminate on somebody because of their sexual orientation and don't allow them into the atmosphere of Krishna consciousness, that's my bad. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give them the same opportunity I give everybody else, and they're going to have more difficulties. I mean, I had one young man came to me a couple of years ago, and I said, "It's your choice. You can." I was the first person he told. And I said, you have a choice because it's A to Z in the Hare Krishna movement. Someone's going to condemn you to the lake of fire and someone's going to embrace you and say, I'll help you as much as I can. And so you have to make that choice. And that's the same way in the material world. People never came out of the closet before. Now they're popping out all over the place because it's getting easier. Popping out all over. That's not very polite. But you understand my point. In other words, the point is that it's just karma. And we all have karma. None of us come here without sin. We're here because we're sinful. We're here because we broke the laws of God. Own it. Own they have these billboards here. Do the crime, do the time. Commit the crime, do the time. Yeah. Commit the crime, do the time. Something like that. So now we're doing the time. But you will find people that will say, oh, you're just a sinful rascal. You shouldn't be allowed in the temple. No, okay, tell them to come and see me. You come serve in the temple where I have influence. You're more than welcome.
Thank
Okay?
you, Maharaj. Yes.
I really barked it out that time.
Maharaj, I have a question. If I can just interject before Vrinda goes to the next question. Is Maharaj, you just touched briefly about grace and mercy. Can you elaborate on that, Maharaj? It was really catchy, and wanted to know if you could continue more on that.
I'm just pouring a little glass of water, and
That's
I'm
fine,
not going to
Maharaj.
look at the camera when I do that. I don't want to spill the floor again. When we were young boys, we played this game. I don't know if they still do it, where you go to the two boys go together and they interlock hands, and then they go like this and this. The game is actually called mercy or uncle, right? If you call uncle, then the guy has to let you go. Or if you say mercy, he has to let you go. So the person, so if I get, so say for, I want to win. So say I got the guy going down and he goes mercy, I have the ability, I'm in control of the situation, and I am able to give him the mercy that he's begging for. Grace is just automatically given. It's not somebody holding you down in a lock and a hand lock. It's not somebody with you with a headlock. It's not somebody that can manipulate your situation. It's just, of course, Krishna can manipulate our situation, but by his grace, those two words are used in the Gita often, mercy and grace, by mercy or by my grace. And so at one point, what I'll do is I'll just underline every place that's in the Gita and try to see if Prabhupada's using the words specifically like that, or if he's just utilizing them equally in the Gita. But I actually had to look it up one time. Your default speaker has changed to headphones and will now be used. Is that me? This little sign came up. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
Maharaj, we can hear you very clear.
We can still hear you, Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. So mercy and grace.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Pretty cool, actually, when you look up, when you really, because the first sentence of the Gita is, it's part of the Mahatmya, whatever, or something like that. But the first real sentence in the Gita purport is that one should study the Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a spiritual master. In other words, we have to get into the Gita, we have to really understand it. And first thing we understand is we're not this material body, but we have to go beyond knowing that we're not the material body, because one of the snares is that we misidentify ourselves as being the super soul, and that takes a guru. You have to have a guru to separate out that connection, misidentifying ourselves as that. And then we have to, once we understand that we are the spirit soul and that we're the part and parcel of Krishna, then we have to learn how to serve Krishna. So that's all right here. That's just, I mean, this is the manual for the material world. If you want to get out, here it is.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. That was so simple and nice. Thank you. Vrinda, you can go to the next question.
Okay. Next question is, Maharaj, how can we cultivate a community that encourages inspiration, not competition?
Competition. I think we had this in TSI.
We did.
Didn't we?
I don't remember.
I think we went. I think I discussed this.
Yeah.
So you want to have one that has cooperation and not competition? Is that what the word was? Which word was used again? Give me the words again.
Inspiration, not competition.
Inspiration, yeah. And not competition. Yeah, okay, I have to say it. I think it was the 76th marathon, and Rtadhvaija Swami was in charge of South America. Tamal Krishna was in charge of Rtadhvaija. Vicious competition, vicious. I mean, they weren't beating each other up, but I'm telling you, we did so much Sankirtan. I mean, if you came back less than 12 hours after being out, you're considered like lazy. I wasn't in South America and I wasn't on Radha Damodar, but I was in Gainesville. Well, I was in Gainesville in '76. So So then Rtadhvaija Swami beat Rtadhvaija. South America, he was in charge of the south of the Rio Grande, Mexico, Central America, and South America. He had a big zone, but he beat Rtadhvaija. And so they were walking with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was like, what would you say, like, what's the word? Kind of like, hey, tomorrow, you know, Rtadhvaija beat he beat your Rtadhvaija Sankirtan team. And then Prabhupada says, I like this competition. So competing to serve Krishna without envy is the key. Competing to serve, just like the cowherd boys. I'll get to Krishna first. No, I'm going to get first. I'm going to get to Krishna first. No, I'm going to. But it's not like they're like tying him up to tree. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been there. But the idea is that it's envy-free competition. In other words, it's not like putting somebody else down to bring yourself up. I saw this, like, now I know this basketball player's name because he's an Indian spice. His name is Curry. This basketball player, right? The boys are smiling. Curry, right? What, I don't know his first name. No, Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry is a famous basketball player. So he was doing so President Obama, I don't remember, I think it was 2006 or something like that. There was some African-American boy that was shot in a suburb of Orlando by neighborhood protection guy. And so it was on national. It was a very, I mean, it was so long ago. I still remember there was so much. I read the headlines every day. There's so much on there. And so President Obama started My Brother's Keepers, MBK, My Brother's Keepers. And he got all these music moguls and movie stars and business mogul, sports star, all these guys, anybody that had any kind of influence in the African-American community to link together and really start to do something to help, especially the young men, because they were the ones in the most distress. And so he started this Brothers Keepers, and now he's got like I don't know how many 100,000 of these high-level African-American entrepreneurs and business owners and sports people and movie people and rippers and rappers and trippers and trappers. And he's got all these guys, right? And so Steph Curry and him were doing a town hall meeting. So they selected a group of maybe 25, 30 young men to come to this meeting, like town hall meeting. And so one boy asked President Obama, what does it mean to be a real man? And President Obama said, it's not having an 8-pound chain around your neck, going around trash talking somebody down to try to make yourself look good. When you trash talk somebody down, you go down with them. When you go into an environment, it's your duty to bring that environment up to a higher level by your presence. And when you do that, everybody else comes up, and there we can get progress. There we can become successful. And so, so to have an inspirational community where the competition is there, but it's free of envy, where everybody is encouraging everybody to do more for Krishna, not pushing them down and saying, what do you call it? Dog talking them? I don't know what they call it, something like that, but actually going in and saying, hey man, we can do something together. We can make this better. We can do this, we can do that. We can do so many things. And so this is inspirational, and it's also competitive. In other words, we can see how we can make our temple so nice and be an inspiration for other temples. It's just like, we're getting a little late. It's already like almost 5 o'clock. We had a youth outing here a couple years ago, and I told the kids, I said, when you go to the temple, if you see something that inspires you, figure out a way to make it even better. And if you can't, find someone that you know that can help you figure out how to make it better, and join together and increase the enthusiasm on that. And if you go to the temple where you see something that brings you down or brings others down, find someone that can, or do something that can turn that around, bring that back, bring that into the awareness of those who have the ability, or yourself do something that, just like when I walk over to the temple, if there's trash on the ground in the temple, I just pick it up and throw it in the trash can when I go to the temple. It's not that I'm above picking up trash. Who am I, you know? And so the idea is that when you see something that doesn't connect with you, then try to figure out a way to make that something positive, or to get an influence that can remove that aspect from the temple. In other words, if there's some kind of abuse, or there's some kind of neglect, or there's some kind of discrimination, or whatever it may be in the temple, then utilize that and bring it out so that it can be brought into a proper perspective. That's bringing everything up. In other words, what did it say? All boats raised by high. How do you say that? The tide raises all boats. I get all these sayings backwards. Dyslexia. What do you do? Rising tide raises all boats. That's what it is. Rising tide raises all boats. So you be the rising tide, and all the other boats that are associated with you will rise up with you. Okay, Brenda?
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is a little bit long, so I'll try to go slow.
I like my answers.
Question is, the Maha Mantra is given to us from Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada as it is. But there are some people who say the mantra backwards, like Hare Rama, and end with Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. How can we correct this, and why has it not been corrected?
Well, I mean, if I saw somebody chanting that way, I would just say, how did you learn? That's pretty cool. How did you learn how to chant that way? And if they say, you know, my Guru Maharaj told me that I was a fool and I have to chant Hare Krishna backwards. That's what Lord Chaitanya, it was asked by Prakashanat, anyway, however you say that name, Saraswati. He said, why are you chanting Hare Krishna like a, you know, and he said, my Guru Maharaj found me to be a fool. He told me I just chant Hare Krishna, that's all I can do. So I would just ask the person, I said, that's pretty cool. You chant Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I didn't even know how to do it, but you know, how did you learn? That's pretty cool. And then he'll explain it to you, and then you can say, well, we do Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then you can quote the Brihad, what's that? Hare Nam, or it chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and show scripturally that the mantras can be that way. But if somebody's chanting a mantra backwards, they're not going to hell. If you say Hare Krishna Rama, I mean, even if you say Ramada in, which is, you know, I mean, many people drive by the Ramada Inn or Sailor Rama or whatever, you know, you say Rama, you get credit. Even if the syllables are separated, you still get credit. Even if Ram and Ma are separated by something else, you still get credit for the Rama, you know. And so I don't think it has to be corrected. I just think you can just investigate in a kind, friendly way and just say, oh, that's pretty cool. How did you learn that? You know, that, rather than, you know, if you start out accusatory, you're going to see, the thing is, most people react. That's the thing. My policy is listen, acknowledge, respond. Listen, acknowledge, respond. Because responding, if you listen and then you acknowledge what was said and you respond to what's being said, response is in the mode of goodness. If you listen and just react without acknowledging or understand what's being said and you just react, that's the mode of passion. And mode of passion only causes grief, according to the Gita. Mode of goodness actually causes joy. And so if you approach it in the mode of goodness, then you'll get a mode of goodness response. So, you know, I mean, if it's Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare, Krishna Hare, or whatever. I'm still getting lost halfway through. It doesn't, I mean, it's just a different sampradaya. they're not going to go to the lake of fire and burn forever and ever. And it's just. But I would, I heard somebody doing that, I would say, that's pretty cool. How'd you learn that? I'd be actually curious to where it came from.
Thank you, Mars. The next question is, okay. How can you make your peers and fellow community members understand that marriage is not the goal of life?
Next question. No. How do you make your community and peers understand that marriage is not the goal of life? Read the 8th chapter of the 7th canto where Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsingadev, and he'll explain to you everything about married life in a very, very, very powerful way. But honestly speaking, my experience is 99.99, and that has that 0.99 has that little line over it, are going to be married. It's very, very rare to find somebody that wants to be a brahmachari or a brahmacharini, because there is a Sanskrit word according to Rtadhvaija for brahmacharini. 99, my experience in raising boys, I haven't got one brahmachari yet. They were all going to get married. I knew it from the day one. And so I didn't artificially put them in brahmachari color. I let them wear white dhotis. I was criticized one time, but I explained my reasoning, and it was accepted, because I thought it was better to keep them in their ashram and teach them how to be a good grihastha, kind grihastha, earning grihastha, compassionate grihastha, charitable grihastha, all the things that you read in the Bhagavad Gita. That is, because there's a list in the 13th chapter, 8 through 12, of the different qualities. Fearlessness is for sannyasis, charities for grihasthas. But they're all ashrams. Ashrams are places of sacrifice. Brahmachari ashram. Ashram means place of sacrifice. Grihastha ashram is a place of sacrifice. All of them are ashrams, and they're places of sacrifice where we're meant to learn by that sacrifice. And so, I forgot the question now.
The question how to make your community members understand.
Oh yeah, marriage, yeah. And so it's something. My position is, I have this one of my kind of favorite Christian preachers, an African American guy from Cleveland, and he said he does these lectures that are like theme based. His Sunday sermons are definitely theme based. And one day he said, we're gonna talk about dating according to the Bible. And so he said, there is no dating according to the Bible. In the Bible, all marriages were arranged by the parents, according to the Bible. And so he said, now all I can do is I can give you scriptural references on how dating should be done. He says the first thing, no wed, no bed. He was just right straightforward. This is an African-American, 80% African-American congregation, 20% white American congregation, and he just cuts right to the point. And he says, you live a chaste life. You live a chaste life. And you learn not to exploit the other person. You learn not to exploit the other person. So marriage is an important thing. Just like in the 17th chapter, it talks about sacrifice, charity, and penance. It's all about, the whole chapter is about divisions of faith. And it comes to the point of sacrifice, charity, and penance. And so in the 18th chapter, that question comes up. Should it be given up? Because some people say sacrifice, charity, and penance should be given up, and some people say it shouldn't. And Krishna says it shouldn't be given up, because sacrifice, charities, and penance purify even the great souls. And then he gives the example of the Vivaha Yagya, which is the marriage Yagya. And he gives the example, should a person in the renounced order of life not encourage a young man or a young lady to get married just because he has himself renounced or given up family life? should he not encourage a young man or a young lady who are if they don't have some outlet for that drive, that sexual drive, if they don't have some outlet for it, we're going to end up with Varnas and Kara. We're going to end up with unwanted population. But the idea is to do it in a proper setting. Now, I know that some parents kind of harp on the kids. You got to get married. You're 22 years old. You're going to graduate. If you graduate from this school, you're going to have such a high education. You're not going to find a good man. You're going to get. If you have this, you're not going to. If you don't have this kind of, you're not going to get a good girl. And this is going to be this. You know, and the kids are just going like, just leave me alone and let me figure it out, dude. I mean, just like, and so. But I still say, you know, if you have some, I mean, the children, the youth, the young adults, I guess, what do you call it? The kids of your family. I guess they're still kids when you're a parent. And so the thing is, they have to be a little submissive, but the parents also have to be a little submissive, because, you know, there's a saying, a man, I guess you should say person nowadays, a person convinced against his will is has the same opinion still. And the more you try to push, the more resistance you're going to get. But the more inviting you are, the more invitations you're going to get. If you're inviting towards the marriage idea, you'll get invited into the marriage idea by your child. If you're pressing it, you're going to get pressed back. I mean, it's just the laws of physics. It's a basic law of physics. It's a basic law of nature. If somebody comes at me, I'm just going to come back at them. I mean, I try not to. I'm trying to become a transcendentalist, but, you know, I got a little Kshatriya in me, not much, but a little bit, you know, probably 90%. And so the idea is, I mean, marriage isn't the focal point. Spiritual life is a focal point, and the man is there to protect, the husband protects the wife and the wife protects the husband. Natural tendency is to want more than one. And so the thing is, when you're married, the wife protects the husband from straying and the husband protects the wife. We don't want that. We don't want that. Ramchandra set the ideal example, although there are cases in the Bhagavatam where I think King Chitraketu had 10 million wives or something like that. I can't even imagine him. He must have had like New York City as an ashram or something. But the idea is, to have a sacred marriage, and to you know, to try to find a devotee husband or devotee wife. Try to make it, because that's the best situation. I know other situations can work. Let's just get into it a little bit. I was driving in the car listening to PBS or whatever that is. Brahmatirtha has it on my radio, whatever it is. And there was a psychologist and a sociologist and a rabbi and a Catholic priest and a Baptist, and all these guys they're discussing marriage. And every one of them, all the sociologists, the psychologists, the rabbi, everyone said, it's better to marry within your religious tradition. Every single one of them said that. The material side said it and the spiritual side said it. The reasoning is that once you have children, you go down to your root upbringing. Whatever your root upbringing was, you're going to go there once the children start to come out. And so if there's a division of faith, there's going to be a division. That's where the division is going to start. And the kid, if he has to grow up in a multi-religious environment, it can happen if you're expert at doing that. But if there's, I mean, if you're going to go to hell forever and ever for chanting Hare Krishna, and you're going to go to, you know what I mean? It's just like, it just becomes a little difficult for the children. So they recommend that. Now you can do it. You can get a nice husband or a nice wife that's not a Hare Krishna. That may be very favorable. But my experience so far is that every single ISKCON youth that has done that has come to me and said, Mars, I have a very nice husband. I have a very nice wife. There's just a little lack of communication because they're not devotees. We can communicate on everything. Finances, how to raise the children, you know, where the perimeters for the children are, what our diet is, all these kind of things. But the confidential part of the heart can't come out because the person's not a devotee. And that's very painful for a devotee not to have that kind of companionship in the And so we emphasize marriage, but we do it in a practical way. And this goes back to the other question of inspiration rather than competition. It's not like you have to compete to get your kids married before the other, Prabhu gets their kid married. It's not like marriage competition. It's quality competition. Let's get the most qualified person I can get for my son or my daughter. Let them find somebody. Be engaged with them. Open your heart. Tell them how it was that you got married, how the struggles you had to go through. Because marriage is a long process. I went to a congregation member, and he married a non-devotee, and I went to the Christian wedding, and the Christian minister said, the passions of the beginning of a relationship can't carry a marriage through. The couple has to have a common denominator of becoming friends. A deep friendship has to develop, and that friendship means I trust this person. I have confidence in this person. I know this person's going to have my back. I know this. If I go down, I know this person's going to bring me up. If he goes down, I'll bring him up. And so that has to be there. And so, yeah, it's not that I'm an opinionated person. I have a lot. I just feel that, most people are going to get married. Let's just do it right. Let's reduce the divorce rate. Let's just do this right. And get people that are really meant to be with each other. And don't just rely on love or looks. When I had the ashram, I had all the boys, I said, marry the heart, don't marry the body. Because the heart of a devotee will soften and become more beautiful. And the body is just going to decay, and pretty soon they're going to look like a prune or a sun-kissed raisin.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question
That
is...
was a good one for TSI, wasn't it? I did that one at TSI, right? The sun-kissed raisin. I did that. I did that at TSI.
Maharaj, next question is, how can we advance our Krishna consciousness in our daily lives as students in school and in extracurricular activities?
Yeah, just see Krishna. I think I explained this at TSI also. I did a program for youth and parents in Houston one time. And first I picked on the kids. I said, okay, kids, when you go to school, of course, now that's virtual school, I don't know how we're going to do that, but I guess it's possible. I mean, I do it every day. But that's a lie. I try, if I think about it, I do it every day. But good to be honest, right? If you lie, tell it, erase that lie so it doesn't go on the lie book up there with the good guy. And so I would tell the kids, when you go to school on Monday, then I want you to find one thing in the school that reminds you of Krishna, one thing in your extracurricular activities that reminds you of Krishna. So they say, like what, Mars? They say, if you go to the drinking fountain, understand that the taste of water is Krishna. And then every time you take a drink, you think of Krishna. What else, Mars? I said, well, if you see somebody do some extraordinary thing in your extracurricular activity, like volleyball or soccer team, whatever you're on, if somebody does some what do you call cool move, you understand Krishna is the ability of that person. Krishna gives that person the ability. He says, I'm the ability of man. I give that person the ability to do that. So therefore, when the person does something cool, you don't just see the cool thing, you see Krishna allowing that person to do the cool thing. And so I challenge them. So if a kid goes to school for 180 days a year, at the end of the year, they got 100 places in that school where they can find Krishna. And I challenge the parents. I said, when you go to work on Monday, then you got to find something in your workplace that reminds you of Krishna. And the benefit is that I think most people work 5 days a week, hopefully. So that gives you 104 days off. We'll say 105. So that breaks it down to 105. That breaks it down to 260. Say you get 20 days off. That's 240. Say you got 10 holidays. So that's 230. So you got the parents have to remember Krishna more than the kids. It's more responsibility on the adults. So when you go to the office, you have to remember. So it's just a matter of seeing Krishna within everything. Want to hear a story about Prabhupada in Golden Gate Park? I can tell you a little story. And I've told this many times. Prabhupada was walking in the park. This is like 1968, right in the middle of the hippie thing. Prabhupada was on Hippie Hill there chanting Hare Krishna to all the hippies. But they were taking a morning walk with the devotees. So one of the devotees, you have to remember 1968, this is the psychedelic part. I mean, it wasn't, 67, 68, 69 was total psychedelic, man. And man, you can tell I'm part of that generation. So anyway, they're asking Prabhupada, what's the vision of a pure devotee? Is he seeing Krishna with the gopis or the cowherd boys, or is it like, like some kind of like kaleidoscope of super souls? And like you're seeing all this, like millions of super souls, like in a kaleidoscope. And Prabhupada goes, no, it's not like that. And it's either his watch or his glasses. He said, just like if I take my glasses off and I leave them on your counter, and I walk out the door, you'll say, Mars, you left your glasses. You won't see just a pair of glasses. You'll see me in the glasses because I use those glasses. So devotee sees everything as being owned and controlled by Krishna. Every plant, every tree, every flower, every building, every single thing is owned and controlled. So he doesn't see a tree. He sees a tree that's Krishna's tree. Everything is owned by Krishna. So he never sees anything but Krishna. But he doesn't, but it's not just like a homogeneous, homogenized type of thing where you can't discriminate the milk from the cream anymore. But you see the tree, you see the house, you see the car, but you actually only you see Krishna, because Krishna is the source of everything. Aham Savasya Prabhava. He's the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from Krishna. And so the idea is that we can do that in our daily life. We can do that in our daily life. It's a matter of training. Here's the example Prabhupada gave. You're driving down the road and your car breaks and you open the hood and you look at it, especially now. And when I was a kid, I could pretty much fix anything minor, nothing major. Now I can't do it because it's all computers. But you open the hood and you look at it and you think, so then you get out your AAA card or whatever and you call the serviceman, and the mechanic comes and he opens the hood and he moves a few things and the car works. I'm looking at the engine, he's looking at the engine. The difference is he's been trained and I haven't been trained. So the difference between seeing Krishna and everything is a matter of training. Therefore, as Prabhupada said, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to get knowledge so that we can understand the intricacies of the material energy and how it works so that we can extricate ourselves. The verses 3 and 4 of the 13th chapter tell us how we're bound in the material world, and 8 through 12 teaches how to get unbound out of the material world. And so all it takes is training. If we're trained, just like the mechanic, he's trained, he sees how to fix the car. And so that's all we have to do is just be trained. Prabhupada's analogies are so cool. I mean, mechanic, I mean, it's just perfect.
Thank you, Marge. So we do have one last question, and is how to keep enthusiasm in devotion without getting lazy in these extraordinary times.
In extraordinary times?
Yes, Marge.
Extraordinary times kind of make you more extraordinary. Yeah, I mean, if you're going off the road, which is kind of an extraordinary time in your car, you're about to get in the car, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, it's like extraordinary times bring on extraordinary, what would you say, impetus to be Krishna conscious. Now the COVID's trying to go around. And so I say it's extraordinary times are easier. It's when the times aren't extraordinary, when we're kind of blasé, that we may get a little lazy. But suffice, I'll just agree with you that in these kind of times. So the idea is we always want to increase our spiritual practices. And just like this, we're having association. I'm having so much association now. Actually, one devotee, one sannyasi, what's the sannyasi? I know, Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj from South Africa. He said, you know, usually I go to Mangal Artik and 24 or 5 people, but now when there's so many people attending the Mangal Artik online, and then he says, we have japa sessions, and he says, when I give class at the temple, there's maybe 10, 15, 20 people. Now there's 200-300 people listening to the class. So he said it's actually increased. So what was the question again, Brenda? I have that problem. I lose, I start talking about something and get off track. Did I lose Brenda?
Oh, we're here, Marge. You want the question repeated?
Yeah, please.
It's how to keep enthusiasm and devotion without getting lazy in these extraordinary times.
Yeah. We'll go into unordinary times, and we have to actually understand the urgency of the message. 2 places in the Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that one should begin Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of their life, or from the time one understands the urgency of the message. So the urgency of the message is that time is ticking and we can't stop it. And I often tell people, some people, I don't know how many youth are on here, but a lot of times people complain that the youth aren't Krishna conscious enough. And I say the youth are born in the Hare Krishna movement. They haven't joined yet. They have to join the Hare Krishna movement. They have to become a member of the Hare Krishna movement. And so once they understand the urgency of the message, that time is ticking. I can remember in 1998 when you came to the farm and you're just like this little thing in a basket. And now it's like 22 years later, and it seems like yesterday you drove out of the farm. And 22 years later, I mean, I don't want to say bad things, but who knows where I'm going to be in 22 years. I mean, there's one half of my family that lives into the 90s and one half, well, we won't talk about that half. And so time is ticking, and so we have to take it seriously. And so, but in times of like this, we're not getting much, we don't have much direct association or physical contact with people. We have this, I have so many friends, and we have so many friends. And right now, no matter what time you get on the computer, you can find somebody giving class, somebody chanting japa, somebody doing bhajan, somebody doing a seminar, or, I mean, it's all over the world. Just like some of the youth that used to be in my school started this Holy Name Festival in Alachua. Then they took the Holy Name Festival onto the computer, and they had over 100 and some countries participating. There was kirtan from the Holy Name Festival that was sponsored, that the TBC strategic planning team actually put up an announcement for that. I mean, I don't remember, I think 1 million hits, I can't remember. So many people were chanting, and now we have this thing. I got a message today that we're supposed to chant japa tomorrow from 8:30 to 12 on Ekadasi. We're trying to get 1 million mantras out, because the Hare Krishna mantra is purifying, and it goes around the earth it goes around 7 times. And it's just like the sages in Naimisharanya went to perform a sacrifice for 1,000 years for the benefit of the universe. It wasn't just for their purification, it's for the benefit of the whole atmosphere. And as they performed that yajna, it wasn't just for personal gratification or personal purification, it was to purify the whole universe. And so when we sit and chant our japa, we're purifying the whole universe, and we have to have this type of consciousness that we're doing outreach as we sit in our chair with our japa. We're sitting and we're doing outreach while we're reading the Bhagavatam. We're doing outreach when we do these Zoom programs. There's no limit. There's literally no limit. And so, yeah, good times, bad times. I could sing the song, but I won't. Good times, bad times. I've had them all. I was a musician before I became a Hare Krishna. What can I do? I can't get them out of my brain.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I think it was so nice to hear how you were relating each and every question to something so practical and so down to earth and so real that we can all like relate to it, Maharaj. Thank you so much for making it so practical for us. Before we end this program, Maharaj, I just want to ask devotees online if they have any questions that they want to ask. If anyone has any questions that you would like to ask, and it can be any question because Maharaj is an all-rounder. So any question that you have, please do ask. We will give you guys 30 seconds if it's possible. And let's see what happens if no one has any questions. But Marge, we are so grateful that you have given us your time. And I'm from what I'm hearing out there, this might continue for some time. If it's okay with you, Marge, we would like to ask you to give us another time of association by doing another Zoom class for us.
You can be Zoomers.
Yes.
I wonder if this generation during COVID is going to be called the COVID generation, the Zoom generation, the virus generation. They're going to give it some name, you know.
Some name.
But it's all Prabhupada's mercy. It's all due to Srila Prabhupada that we're all together, and we will, whatever reaction we have coming, we have to accept with gratitude, be it good or bad. We have to accept it with gratitude because Krishna knows what's best for us. And if we're in a predicament during COVID, that's purification, and purification is always welcome. We always welcome purification. If we have it's difficult, but in theory, just like in the introduction to the Gita, Prabhupada says that when reading Bhagavad Gita, one should at least theoretically accept Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking. Therefore, it'll have more meaning. So at least theoretically, we know that, you know, this is for our good, this is for our benefit. And if it gets extreme, or if it goes away, whatever the outcome is, it's all Krishna, Krishna.
Thank you so much, Marge. It is so wonderful to really actually also hear from you after so many years. Before we actually, wait, Bhavya has a question. Okay, go ahead. Marge, there's one question. Vishaka, can you ask the question, Vishaka?
Yeah, so this is on behalf of Bhavya. She's asking, how do we make chanting more interactive and fun?
More interactive and fun. Turn off your phone, turn off your computer, take off your watch, and you'll be surprised what's inside the holy name. Rupa Goswami says, I don't know how much nectar is in these syllables, Krishna. And at first it may take a little bit of effort. In the mode of goodness, it's a little poison, it's a little sticky at the end. Hey, Rupa, I'm giving Rups. Just a second. I have to do one thing, okay? I teased the kids. Just 1 second.
He is so cool with all the kids. It's unbelievable. It's so nice.
One of my ashram boys that I got when he was 14 has 3 children. One boy 5 and the twins 3, after 2 or 3 or something like that. So every time I tease him like anything, I just tease that. So the question again was how to
make chanting interactive and fun.
Interactive. I mean, I try to get rid of all the interactive things because my mind is interactive enough. I mean, the things it comes up with is just like astonishing. It's just, I mean, talk about interactive. I don't, I'm sorry, I'm chuckling, but interactive means, I can do this without making a bunch of jokes about my interactive mind. And that is that, you know, the process of chanting Hare Krishna utilizes the sense of touch, the sense of speaking, and the sense of hearing. So 3 out of 4, 5 senses are being utilized. And you can have a picture of Krishna that's interactive, so you can utilize your eyes. I sneeze from incense, so I can't do that, but if you can handle incense, you can offer some incense to Krishna, and then your smelling ability will be utilized, so you'll have those interactive things. And as you chant Hare Krishna, you can meditate that there's so many nice prayers that the simple one is, oh Lord, oh energy Lord, please engage me in your service. Oh Radha, oh Krishna, somehow or another, I'm not in your association. Please let me enter into your association. And it's not that these prayers have to overcome the chanting of the holy name, but just to have the meaning and know that. So when I hear the word interaction, I want to have interaction with Krishna. So I need to have less, what are those words? What was the word they used? That it almost sounded like some kind of computer game. They wanted like a Japa to become like some kind of computer game where it was more, what was the word that they used? Interactive, yeah. You know, in other words, you know, talk about, if you want to get interactive in Japa, just see Krishna. He's doing all kinds of interactive things. He's doing so many cool things. I mean, you talk about pranks and he steals butter, he steals yogurt, he pinches babies, he does all kinds of things, you know. And if you want a little interaction, that's a pretty cool interaction to get into. And, but material interactions, turn off your phone, turn off the computer, take off your watch, and just your time. You know, if you have to schedule time and you're only allowed to chant for a certain period of time, set a timer, okay, put it off to the side. When the timer goes out, you know it's time to go back to work, or your lunch break's over, or your class is about to begin, or you know the baby's up from the nap, and stuff like that. So that's interaction, that's interactive, that's totally interactive. Actually,
Thank you.
This is actually the coolest of the cool, I'm telling you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. This has been a wonderful session with you. And I know it's been a wonderful session for all of us. And we're so fortunate, like you said, that we have the Zoom, even though you can't come to Harrisburg physically, but at least we feel that you are in Harrisburg via Zoom. So we are very grateful.
Yeah, Vani is more important than Vapu. Hearing is more important than physical contact.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. And before we, normally what we do, Maharaj, is we end the program by chanting the Nashangiri prayers as a prayer for everybody who is out there. But before we do that, I would like to request devotees who really enjoyed the session, if we could conclude and really cheer Maharaj with 3 Haribols.
They're all
They're all off, Maharaj. Haribol!
Haribol! Haribol!
We all loved it, Marge. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Suvrat to actually lead the Nashinga Artis, the bhajan, and we all can pray for the devotees, pray for the nurses, the doctors, and everyone else out there who's actually really trying to save our country. So, Suvrat, are you ready, beta?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, you can roll with it. Go right ahead.
Ito Nishinghao, Parato Nishinghao. Ito, he's here. Yep, Parato, he's there. Yato, he's everywhere. Oh my goodness, here's a nice prayer. But I may take your lead because I've been.
Yes, Maharaj.
I've had several programs today.
Yes, Maharaj.
And
thank you so much, Maharaj. Please do take care of yourself. Please do take rest. And we again, we thank you, and we hope that we will get your mercy again.
Yeah, you just have Sri Vrinda.
I will. I'll go through her.
Or you can do it. You have my connection.
Yes, Maharaj.
I'm more than happy to oblige.
Thank you so much.
Please,
you too much.
Please stay protected from the COVID. Don't take it lightly. Maintain to the best of your ability the precautions, because we don't want anybody to get sick or cause anyone.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. All goes to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Suvrat, go ahead, beta.
Namaste Narashinga.
Now it's so nice, I don't want to go.
Namaste Narashinga.
Namaste Narashimaya.
Namaste Narashinghaya.
Lade lade dahine.
Halad haladayine.
Idhanya kashi
Vilatangkanalaye
Ito nashimo, pareto nashimo.
Yeto nishringo parato nishringo
Toya toya mita to nashimo.
Yato
Ahe nashimo, hidaye nashimo. Ahe nashimo, hidaye nashimo. Mama dem shade nam prapade. Kamalava yena kam advuta shingam dalita hiranyakashipu danorenga Tavarita nadadilupa jai jagadisha hare
Jai Narsimhadev.
Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Sakara Kamalavaye Nakhan Adbhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dino Naradirupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, devotees, and thank you so much, Surat, for leading a wonderful kirtan. I hope all of you enjoyed the lecture, the question and answer session by Rtadhvaija Maharaj as much as I did, and I hope you all have learned, and it has helped us improve consciousness, and we hope to get him back because he is really, really good and very practical and down to earth, as you can hear from his answers. He's really, really down to earth. We'll try to get him back again, to continue with any more question and answers. And I just want to give devotees a heads up. Next Sunday, we have a very nice program, actually, and the speaker for the next Sunday's lecture is going to be Mother Urmila. She's actually Hari Bol. She's a very, very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Excellent devotee. I can just go on talking about her.
Hari,
But
Hari.
yeah, she's amazing, and she's going to be giving the class next Sunday. And she is, she joined, I think, the late 60s to early 70s in Detroit. She ran Gurukul in Detroit and in North Carolina. And she's very well known for training and parenting and Krishna conscious training and everything. I mean, she's, when it comes to kids and parenting, she's number one. Number one. She homeschooled her three, I think her 4 children, all by herself. And they all educated, college degree educated. So yes, and she herself is a PhD professor in education. So yeah, she gives a lot of work. So we're very blessed to have her next Sunday. So we definitely ask devotees to please do block your time next Sunday, so that we can hear from Mother Urmila Devi Dasi. And until then, dear Krishna Prabhu, is there anything next, anything special you have next Friday that I'm missing?
No, Mataji.
It's
There
the
will
following. Oh, yes.
There is little change, so we will update everyone.
Sounds good. Perfect. So until then, we encourage devotees to please join us every day, 5 o'clock for a 15-minute bhajan while as we are praying for everyone else. You know, just as Maharaj says, whenever we chant the Maha Mantra, it goes time. So the more people that chant together, it's 7 times what that amount. So that's the power of the holy name. So we do encourage everyone to please join us. And until then, please stay safe, please take care, and please be healthy. And until then, wish all of you a wonderful weekend, and we hope to see you all soon. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Bol.
Hari Bolo.
Hare Krishna.